right, let's get going. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We realize you have many choices in terms of how you spend your time. It's always an honor when you decide to spend it with us. Just a quick couple of etiquette and logistics points. We will be enabling Q&A, so if at any time you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat. And when I say Q&A, I don't mean Q&A, the feature. I just mean you are able to ask questions at any time. Feel free to drop a question in the chat or even raise your hand. We'll try to be on the lookout for those and be sure that we can get to your questions as soon as possible. We will have a Q&A at the end of the session, but if you have a question during the session, feel free to drop it in there. We have several colleagues monitoring the chat as well to help us make sure that we catch those and get to your question as soon as possible. If I do call on you for a question, if you want to ask a question vocally, that's absolutely fine. We do ask that you please wait until we call upon you. So please make sure you keep your mics muted in the meantime. That way we're able to make sure that everyone gets the most out of this session. All right. Well, thank you all for being with us here today for our webinar on business continuity. Prepare for the unexpected. We all live in the Caribbean. We all live in islands that get hit by unexpected situations, whether those be hurricanes, even in some of our islands, volcanoes. We have crumbling power infrastructure in some of our islands, certainly the island that I'm sitting on right now in Puerto Rico. So we have to make sure that we have strategies in place to deal with these unexpected issues. The more we progress in IT, the more technology progresses, the faster the pace of business goes. And more, those periods of downtime become less and less acceptable. So how can we develop strategies that allow us to prepare for what we cannot expect? That's what we're going to talk about today. We'll focus on how you can strengthen your BCDR strategy and some tools that you have available to your businesses to be able to do just that. Before we get into that, we'll go through some quick introductions. We are here today, of course, Inova Solutions, the clearly best Microsoft partner in the Caribbean. You may, many of us may know us already. Many of you may know us already. My name is Nestor Diaz. I'm country manager for our Puerto Rico office. Inova Solutions has offices in Curacao, where our headquarters sit, but also Jamaica, Trinidad, Puerto Rico, and Ecuador. We are also here with a very special guest. Inova has been redeveloping and reshaping our partnerships across the past couple of years. And one of the partnerships we'd like to announce is a partnership with a company out of Puerto Rico called 2Connect. So we are here with one of the co-founders of 2Connect, Juan Ortiz, and we'll be leveraging his expertise, especially on on-premise BCDR. So Juan, we'd love to hear a little bit about yourself.
Okay, now, hi there, Nestor. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me over here. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you. Just a quick information about myself. I'm co-founder of 2Connect, and I spend really most of my time just helping businesses in Puerto Rico and Latin America to make systems that actually work. Right, and I've been working with a lot of different projects, from cloud migrations, security-based projects, disaster recovery, for a long time now. I've been probably 15 years now. I don't like to say that too often, but it's really a pleasure. And my side of a presentation will be focused, like Nestor said, on the physical side of the BCDR strategy and the different products and the pain and aches that you may probably have. So again, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. In fact, with us as well is Theo, the other co-founder of 2Connect. Theo, I don't have a slide for you, so I apologize, but I did see you turned on your camera for a little bit there, so I want to acknowledge Theo as well. Thank you for being here.
A quick thing, I just want to make sure to add something that you've already mentioned. We're going to have a Q&A all the time here, and when we say Q&A again, it's just chat. But one of the things I want to point out is that Theo it's going to be probably leading a lot of the physical part of the Q&A, and he's a great professional on the commercial side of the solution, but he's also being in the trenches, right? He's actually deployed these solutions in real world environments, so he really knows what he talks about. He's what I really call a unicorn. So take advantage of that. If you have any question at any moment, just be sure just to write it down in the chat. We'll just help you answer them as fast as possible, and we'll also share information through the session. Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so really an honor to be here with To Connect to be able to present this information to you. But you are here to learn, so let's get to it. One of the realities of one of the complexities of our modern world is that our businesses, whether large or small, face many of the same types of threats. So whether that was the pandemic that forced us to go remote, or whether it's issues with a piece of hardware that decides to die on us, a glitch in a software that decides to make data or in a database inconsistent, a physical disaster, a hurricane, a fire, earthquake that may actually affect the buildings our servers and laptops and devices live in. There are many different types of disasters that we can face. And the fact of the matter is that when we think about disaster recovery and BCDR and backups, we may initially think of data loss as the biggest damage of a disaster. But frankly, it goes far beyond that, because data loss is really just the beginning. You can have risk, of course, of actually losing data. But if, for instance, you were to get hacked, and that is the disaster that you face also that data being breached. That then opens you up to regulatory liability, to legal liability. It leads you to potential loss of trust from customers. Even if no data is actually breached, having servers or applications or systems that go down could cause interruptions to my business. And depending on my industry and the time that I am down, the actual just not being able to operate may cost me much more than the actual amount of data that I lose. And that, of course, can also lead to reputational damage, loss of trust in customers, and really much, much longer term implications than just the actual initial disaster. And for that reason, really, it pays to be prepared. Preparing against the unexpected, as we say in the beginning, will allow us not only to ensure that business continuity and protect against data loss, but also shorten those downtime windows, potentially protect ourselves against liability, have even financial backing in the terms of potential IT insurance that can help us recover if we need to buy devices again, or if we need to set up physical environments again. And of course, helps us avoid reputational damage, and in many cases, ensure we are actually compliant with our regulatory requirements. Many industries have strict regulatory requirements around BCDR. So what areas can we look at to ensure that we have that necessary preparation? Well, today we're going to look at 3 tools available to your enterprises for you to be able to prepare against the unexpected. We're going to be looking for each of these areas at why they're required and what the tool is that is available to you. And we can start with SaaS application backup. We'll also then talk about our endpoints, and finally about our traditional infrastructure, servers, applications, and making sure those stay up as well. So let's talk about SaaS applications. And typically when we think about SaaS applications, we don't think about needing to back those up. We say, well, if things are in Microsoft 365, it's Microsoft's responsibility. But the statistics say that many enterprise and small businesses have lost data in SaaS applications. And the truth of the matter is, while the provider has some responsibility to protect that data, they are responsible for essentially the system staying up. And if they're doing any sort of maintenance, that data not being lost. They are not responsible for any errors on my side. And that's typically where data loss happens. Perhaps an employee leaves the company, I remove the M365 license, 90 days later, someone's looking for a file. Where is that file? That super special important Excel file that was shared with so many people in the business. Oh, it was in that person's OneDrive. It's now gone. There's no way to recover it. And many of these types of errors can occur where the onus is on us to be prepared and protected against those types of data loss. So what tools are available to us to be able to actually back up our SaaS applications? Well, one thing that ToConnect and Inova share is a love for Datto solutions. And today we're going to be talking about 3 specific Datto solutions that can help you. For SaaS applications specifically, we have what is known as Datto SaaS Protection. Inova brands it as Guardian 360 Backup, and it is a solution that is built to help you back up your Microsoft 365 and G Suite environments. So it's going to allow you to protect your data with 3 daily backups. These backups are encrypted at rest and in transit. The backups are immutable. And so that means they ensure with required regulatory compliance requirements. The backups include Exchange. And when we mention Exchange, we mean emails, contacts, calendars, and tasks. They will also include OneDrive files and folders, SharePoint files and folders, and Teams. Now, when we mention Teams, we don't mean one-to-one chats, but the actual Teams with channels and tabs. Those are going to be backed up. So how does Guardian 360 actually work? How does it actually look? Well, rather than telling you, I'd rather show you. So let's do just that now. All right, we're going to see brief demos of all 3 solutions today. I'm going to speed through a little bit the SaaS protection and the endpoint protection because the BCDR demo is chunky. However, if at any point you have questions, feel free to type them in the chat. And at the end, you'll even have the ability to schedule a personalized demo of any of these solutions or all 3. So don't worry if we miss something, we'll be perfectly able to click on it on a one-on-one session later. So this is the overview for SaaS Protect. As you can see, we see a dashboard with all 4 areas that are protected. And I'm able to see those OneDrive, Exchange, SharePoint, and Teams backups. I don't need to back up all 4 areas. Maybe I'm only concerned about mailboxes. Maybe I'm only concerned about files. I can choose to back up just those, and the others will simply remain inactive. Doesn't change the price of the solution, but it's an option that is available to me. The solution is going to allow me to have unlimited retention of my data. So as far back as I want to go, I can go. However, if for regulatory requirements, I want to eliminate that data after a period of time, I can enforce that as well. And right here in my dashboard, I'm going to be able to see my last 30 days of backups with the most recent all the way on the right and least recent here on the left. And of course, green means good. Yellow means it was completed, but with errors. And red, as you can see here, means, ooh, there were errors that day. If there are errors or if I want to review the status of my backups, there is a robust reporting component. I can simply go to those days, for instance, September 14, and verify what exactly went wrong with my backups or ensure that my backups actually completed successfully. So I can generate a summary of all backup events here and just see visualizations, or I can generate detailed information in an event log and see exactly what's been happening, and if there were errors, what those errors were. I can apply filters. I can filter by application, by status, by event type. And I'll be able then to see all that relevant data. For any action that users make, there is also equally robust reporting. And I'll be able to see anything from a login to actual data on the platform. To use a slightly larger window here. And even things like restores, searches, and anything that touches backup data will be reported on. So I can make sure I meet those audit and compliance requirements as well. And if I want to actually see and restore data, it's as simple as going to the Recovery tab, choosing the data that I want to restore. For instance, perhaps I lost my super important Dungeons and Dragons campaign files. So I can go to that campaigns folder. Got to make sure the CEO has his D&D campaigns, find whatever assets I need to restore, and simply click on restore and restore those individual assets. I can restore to the initial user, I can restore to a different user, and if it was a file that had complex share permissions, I can make sure those permissions are restored as well. I can choose what snapshot I'm going to restore from and what date I'm going to restore from. I can choose from that date which of the 3 snapshots I want to actually choose for the restore. And I can choose to restore a number of files and folders or just the entire snapshot that I took for that day. I can also choose to export assets. I'll restore, sends things back to the cloud because these are SaaS applications. Export prepares files for downloads locally to my computer. And I can also choose to back up point in time right now. If I don't know exactly where a file lives, I can also use the global search feature to find that file across my users. And I can also search for a specific date and time. And I can verify the status of my exports and restores here just to make sure that it is actually completed. To avoid any sort of accidental data overwrite, when I go to my actual data, I will find that rather than simply dropping the file, let me complete this sign in here briefly. Rather than simply dropping the file in the original location, we're going to create a series of files and folders that are going to allow me, if I want to merge everything back into place, but will protect me from accidentally deleting files that maybe I don't actually want to overwrite. Show you what that looks like now. Make sure you have your 2FA set up, folks. Unrelated to today's topic, but friendly neighborhood reminder. So whenever I perform a restore, whether that's in Exchange, in SharePoint, or in OneDrive, I'm going to see that the root of the actual item I restored, or the root of the actual place I performed the restore, will now have a new folder. That folder will always be called SaaS Protection Restore, and it will have a timestamp attached to it. And inside that folder, I'll have the entire file and folder tree leading to my file. So if it's a file that I simply want to merge and overwrite everything, I can go to my File Explorer, find that in my File Explorer, and from there, simply drag it right to that OneDrive root, and it will merge all the files and folders down, ask me if I want to overwrite, hey presto. But if there are specific files in here that I don't want to overwrite, then this allows me to select those specific files, move them as I want, and ensure that I don't accidentally overwrite data that is still good. And that is essentially SaaS Protect. It does one thing, and it does it very well. It backs up your SaaS applications, specifically M365 and G Suite. So that's the first of the tools we wanted to share with you today. Let's go right back to that presentation and move on to the next one. Next topic we want to touch on is endpoint backup. And often we have users send important or sensitive data to either SharePoint or OneDrive or maybe a file share that could be on-premise or in something like Azure Files. But less and less, we are thinking maybe about backing up endpoints. More and more of that data is centralized in other locations where we back up. So why would I need endpoint backup? Well, the truth is that for many people, for many types of staff, they are still generating important data that they keep locally on their device. Think, for instance, of an outside sales force. While it is very likely that my sales rep is using CRM and putting data up there, I can almost guarantee that they're also keeping data locally on their device. So this is an extra layer of protection to make sure that these users also have a way to protect those files and make sure that if anything is lost, I can restore it. There's also a new wave of employees that work remotely. And while some of these remote employees maybe connect to something like an Azure Virtual Desktop, where I can simply protect that AVD and I'm done, a lot of these employees may actually be working on physical devices, corporate-owned devices, but physical devices nonetheless. So a direct-to-cloud endpoint backup solution helps me ensure that these users are also protected, even if they don't regularly connect to my corporate network. So this direct-to-cloud endpoint backup is going to allow me to take backups every 2 hours. It's going to allow both file and folder restore as well as full bare metal recovery. It's also going to be encrypted end-to-end and with immutable backups to make sure that I meet compliance requirements. And it's compliant with several regulations, just like SaaS Protect is. These backups can cover up to 1.5 terabytes per device, and they are retained for up to a year in this case. And it's also a fairly simple solution that does one thing, but again, does it very, very well. So in this case, we have a virtual machine, something like this right here. And installing it is as simple as deploying an agent. And that agent can be deployed device by device, or it can be deployed en masse. After that, it will simply run right here in the background, making sure that it takes those backups every 2 hours. For instance, let's suppose I have these demo files here and I delete those. Gone. How can I then restore those files? Well, very similarly to our previous solution, we will have a web console we can go to. And here I'll be able to see all of my protected endpoints. These are all, of course, demo environments. And I'll be able to see backup status for the last 10 days. Again, green means good. Orange means something went wrong. Orange and green means at least one of the endpoints did complete a successful backup, but at least one other endpoint did not. And completely white means no backup was taken. I can control settings for my organization, things like who gets reports, when there's successes, when there's failures. And I can also, per device, choose settings like which of the connected disks I want to back up, if I want to back them all up, and even allow, in Windows 10 and Windows 11, when a connection is identified as metered, to pause backups while we're working on metered connections. We can also set bandwidth throttling options to make sure that this is not taking over my network. And if I want to perform a restore, I can simply click on the little arrow here. And I'll have two primary options. I can download a utility to perform a full bare metal recovery. Old device died, simply grab this, download that utility, run it on the new device, and everything from files and folders to installed applications to system configuration will all be restored exactly as it was. Or I can simply start an individual file and folder restore. If I do the latter, which is what I'll do here, it'll allow me to choose which device I actually want to restore from. We'll start to mount the latest snapshot from that device, but I can also choose a different snapshot if I so wanted. And once it's mounted, I'm going to be able to have two options. I'm going to be able to connect via SFTP and simply download those files directly to my computer, or I can browse right here on the web, choose the data that I want, and download it. I can even set this up so that one of my users, my IT users perhaps, has access to perform this operation himself. There we go, it's mounted. And once I click browse, I'll have the SFTP option, or I'll be able to simply browse on the web, find that C drive, the user folder, go straight into those downloads, and get that demo salute folder. There it is, it's on its way back. And here we are. There's all that data that I needed for my healthcare demo. So again, very simple solution, does one thing, but does it very, very, very well. These are solid, reliable, set it and forget it style solutions that you can make sure that are running, run tests when required to make sure that everything is correctly backed up and recoverable, and you can have the peace of mind that your data is being protected continuously. However, as we mentioned, traditional backup is still very, very important. Business applications, critical processes, those will still run on servers. So we want to dedicate the rest of our call to really look at something that's a little bit new for Inova, and it's that more on-premise infrastructure focused BCDR tool. And we'll listen to Juan tell us a little bit about Datto's BCDR options. Feel free to
Awesome.
take control of the screen share.
Yes, sir. Let me share my screen real fast. Hold on. Okay, so let me know when you can see the screen.
There you go, sir. We got it.
Awesome. Alrighty. So, like Nestor mentioned, we the first things we saw were dedicated mostly into SaaS applications, right? And those are mostly, set it and forget it. But traditionally, the challenges for on-premises backup solutions are a bit larger, are more complex, mainly because of the regulatory requirements, the amount of data we may be backing up, the internet speed we have in our side, and really having so many moving parts from different vendors working at the same time, and sometimes we don't even know if things work well, right? And that's one of the main problems we've seen through the years. When we have one of these systems, you may say, I'm taking my data and I'm backing it up. But when was the last time you tested it, right? When do you know if it really works? When the disaster or the it doesn't have to be a disaster, right? It could be a lost file. It could be a loss of power. It could be a storm. Whenever the problem strikes, you should know if things are gonna work well, right? And that's mainly the focus of this part, because we know that the data within our company, it's the lifeblood of the business. Okay, and whenever something happens, it may be a complete disaster, and it can be anything from a bad click, misconfiguration, failing hardware. Could be just a ransomware, and which is one of the things I really want to focus on today, to show you that this tools give you one main advantage, and it's that everything that we'll be talking about pretty much is integrated under a single console, a single vendor, a single invoice, which is really great because I've been working with a lot of different solutions, backup solutions through the years, and each vendor has their own flavor, right? But there's some things that give you a problem, and the one of the main ones is billing. For example, whenever you say I need a backup on my premises, but I need an offsite backup as well, then you start getting things like how I'm able to get my data from my data center into the offsite location. But then what happens is that whatever I'm going to restore, I'm going to get billed by that traffic. And, it can be a pretty large amount of money that could be spent in that event. And you also have to remember that you do have to test your backup and disaster recovery strategies. Okay, so what we're gonna show you is how you can do that using the BCDR solutions from Datto, and especially really present you the tools we have, which there's basically three main solutions, and those solutions are the first one. It's Alto, which is the entry level solution that's for very small environments. The other one is Cyrus, which is the most cost effective and feature rich solution. That is the one that we'll be focusing on today. And we also have Unitrans, which is for large enterprises and government, where really the scale is it has no limit. So you may need to go at the terabyte level of data. Okay, so and one of the things I want to mention is that I'm going to be doing mostly demos, and those demos are on a production environment from one model customer we have that they allow us to do this, to show you really what it looks like on a real environment. Okay, so let's oops. I'm gonna show you that one of the next thing I wanted to show you is this slide, which basically is a download center we have for some goodies, including data sheets and in general information around this solution. So if you want to have access to that, just scan that QR code, and you're gonna go to the download center and download that directly. If you have any problems with that, just let us know, and we'll just send you the link as well through the chat. Okay. So I'm gonna jump straight into the demo. Okay. So let's start with the solutions. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to skim through the website to show you what it really looks like. So when I mentioned Alto, it means just a very small box, which is that one you see there. Or you just plug it into your network, plug the power, and configure the agents, and that's it. You set it and forget it. Okay. It will do pretty much everything that the rest of the solution does, except for spinning up virtual machines, and I'm going to go deeper on that later. But it's basically a fully featured turnkey solution for BCDR. Okay, so you do backup and you do you do disaster recovery in here. And again, with a very small footprint, a very small device with a low cost. We have disaster recovery with Datto, which is a larger device. Actually, I do have the specifications over here. Let me move this around because it's in the presentation. Okay, so you can see, these are larger devices with larger amount of data in here. That's Datto. And we also have unit trends which are larger amounts of data meant for large corporations. Okay, so let's just focus here for a second. When we say we like to do integrated business continuity and disaster recovery, it really means having everything in a single pane. Everything it's contained here in this solution. So really, I'm just gonna show you some of the basics. For example, one of the main things people are concerned about is immutable storage. This is immutable storage, both on the device itself. If you're worried about ransomware, for example, the system really helps you prevent that. And anything that gets sent offsite is automatically immutable as well. What does immutable mean? It means that once it's issued, it cannot be changed, not even by an employee, right? You cannot modify that. You do have MFA to enter into the console. You must do MFA, so that's how you protect your identity. Not only that, but really you have complete control over the connection. It creates a connection from the device to the data portal, which is completely encrypted, both in traffic and at rest. It is also encrypted. I mentioned before that pricing is one of the main key features here, and this is what I mean. Everything I'm going to be talking about, it's going to be a single price. Every single part. When you do your backups, no matter how much data you're backing up, as long as it fits within the solution size you bought, it's going to be the same price. Your testing of the disaster recovery and backup, it's going to be the same price. If you turn on a machine into a hypervisor and test your BCDR, it's going to be the same price. The traffic to the data center on the cloud and back from the cloud to your on-prem environment, it's going to be included. And there's also a few goodies that you can do as well to save some bandwidth. I'm going to go into that deeper later. You have an SLA of 5 nines, which is a lot. It's frankly one of the highest we've seen in disaster recovery solutions. That means roughly 3 seconds of downtime per year. So that's done because you have redundancy at the physical level on disk, but you're also taking out the data from your data center into the data cloud, and then that goes from the main data center into a secondary data center that really it depends on where you're from and how your tenant is set up, but usually speaking is about maybe 2,000 miles away from one side. So it could be from the East Coast to the West Coast on the US. So realistically, you're protected against, earthquakes, storms. You're protected against, any natural disaster. Most likely, it's not going to hit both places at the same time. So it's why you have such a large SLA here. Um, every time you take a backup, that's going to be a snapshot. That's part of a continuous backup system. That means you're no longer having to be worried about having to do backups at the end of the day, right? Rather than that, you do it through the day and you decide how often. I'm going to show you that later. Every single backup you do, it's verified. It has a checksum that is verified and it will not be written into the disk if it's corrupted. You have a centralized management for every part of your environment. So, for example, if you have virtual machines running into your VMware environment, your Hyper-V environment, your Azure environment, your AWS environment, your Google environment, you can back them all up and protect them all through the use of an agent. Okay, so you can do both agent and agentless backups here and protection. Um, and one thing I really like about this is that you do have a lot of flexibility here and a lot of automation. Because one of the main problems with backup solutions and security, really security solutions, is that we are prone to human error. Okay, so we may forget to do things from now and then, and here we do have something that is very useful and is seamless integration with external platforms. For example, with RMM solutions. So if you have several servers that are installing your environment, with time you may add another one and forget to protect it. And since we can do automation and integration here, you can prevent that server from being forgotten on the void, right? You can make sure you completely install these agents automatically through the use of these RMMs. You have priority support, so that means you can open up a ticket from the platform. I'm going to show you how. And you have reporting, a lot of reporting with the device. So, and I'm going to show you one, so you can see, you can take a look at how you can prove to your auditors that you're doing your backups and you're testing them, which is the important part here. Okay. So one thing I wanted to show you was this specifications on the Datto Cloud. And when we say things are encrypted, we really mean we're encrypting things with military-grade encryption. That's AES 256. And the data centers are compliant with SOC 2 Type 2 and SOC 1 Type 2 and ISO 27001. Okay, so the data centers are protected, reliable, and they've gone through all this external audit processes. Okay. So I'm gonna jump in right into the platform. And one of the things I wanted to highlight is that if you saw the all the previous solutions, one of the things you may have noticed is that they have similar look and feels. That makes everything easier to manage. Because if you have one solution, it's going to be really easy to transition from one to the other. Okay, and in here, what we have is the backup status page. Basically, all the devices that are within this account are listed here, and you can see all the virtual machines or the devices that are protected are listed there. And here is, I'm just gonna give you a quick tour in here. Let me just put this larger, just to make sure you guys can see it. In here, you have the name of the device. We have the serial number. We have the web remote console, the organization name. You have the model number. And here is where this particular document comes handy, because you do have a lot of different flavors, right? And in here, this device, it's a 5.8. So that means it's over here. So it's 8 terabytes of data, and it has Xeon processor, 96 gigs of DDR RAM ECC, and it's, if you can see, it's not only for storage, it's actually a whole hypervisor running there. It checked in to the platform 5 minutes ago. Okay, it has 0 tickets right now. It has offsite data of 278 gigabytes, and it's pretty much holding out at 3% of data. So what it all means, the device automatically checks into the Datto website, so you can see the status at all times. And if you have any problems, you can open up a ticket right from this portal. And I'm going to show you how in a little bit. You can see that there are 3 machines here that all are completely protected. You can see that 0 volumes are unprotected. If you had one volume that was not protected, you would see it here. And that's something you do on purpose, right? You may have one hard drive that could be something you don't want to back up for some reason, and that can be excluded within the agent settings. And each of one can be controlled separately, or you can apply the same settings to all of them at the same time. Okay. And you can see that the latest local backup um, was 40 minutes ago. Okay, and it's in the morning for us. And the last offsite sync was 17 hours ago. And I'm going to show you how that looks like in a minute. And here are all the backup attempts, the last ones. So I'm gonna click here to show you the actual device, the control panel for that device. So you can see again more information around the device. And this is one of the fun parts here. You see that the here you have the name, the model, the information around the device, but here you have the ticketing, right? So when I mentioned you can open up a ticket, you literally can come here and just fill out this form, and it already have the device serial number. You put your phone number, you describe the problem, and you should be getting a response within 4 hours, because everything in here is high priority. Okay, so that's an important point to remember. And that is going to be seen here and in the main console. Now, one thing that is really interesting is that when you do this, when the support comes here, you can really leave notes around this particular server or the system itself. You can have notes here around how you do backups, when to do backups. If you have any caveats that you need to know about, you can put them here, and therefore your internal team and your external team, and well, the external support from Datto as well. Okay. Another thing that is really useful is this right here, and these are round trips, and the round trips are a solution for pretty much everyone that's starting out with the solution and have a lot of data. So let's assume that you're planning on backing up 30 terabytes of data. If you have that much data, usually what happens is that you're going to back it up internally with no problem. But when you have to send that data initially into the cloud, you're going to be using a lot of bandwidth, and that's going to take a lot of time as well. Usually it may take up weeks. And even worse, what happens is that you're using a lot of bandwidth. So you may be eating up your the actual bandwidth available for the users, and you may want to avoid that, right? So what you can do is you have the right to do that twice a year, and it's to order a round trip, which is a hard drive that gets sent to you. You plug it into your network, you download the information directly into that drive, and you send it back to Datto, and they'll just load that into your cloud environment, reducing drastically the amount of data you have to upload. So the next set of data are going to be deltas, right? The data that has changed since that initial set of data was uploaded, right? So it's pretty neat. And again, it's free. It's not free. It's included within the price that we're already paying. And I just try to make a point there, because this is something that a lot of vendors do, but you always have to pay for shipping and for the lease of the drives and all that. And here, that's not the case. Okay. Um, so that's pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to show you around this. Oh, and there's another thing I wanted to show you that's really neat. When you take your data and you push it to the cloud, you're pushing it to a primary site, right? And that's offsite. But internally, what Datto does is they sync it asynchronously to another site, which in this case is in Utah, and this is probably in Virginia. So it's around maybe 1,900 miles, maybe 2,000 miles. If you see it into a straight line, it's a lot of there's a lot of distance right there. And that's why you have so much SLAs. Here you can see the devices. You can see the agent version, which is very important. The agent should be updated frequently. So if you have the latest, you should always have try to have the latest version to keep maximum compatibility. Now you see there's a screenshot here, right? This is one of the neat parts. It's part of verification processes. The way this happens is that whenever you create a snapshot from a backup, it's actually tested. Okay, so it spin the system automatically without your intervention spins up a virtual machine from that backup. So it actually reads the backup and makes sure it boots. So you can see that screenshot right there. If I click here, if you see here, it says September 17. So that was yesterday at 8:38 and in the evening. Okay, so that's one of the main pains resolved completely, because you don't have to do it, and this even does it daily. Okay, I'm gonna head back here, and I'm gonna go now to the web remote. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna connect straight to the device. Okay, I'm gonna show you real quick what you can do here. So in here you see the platform, including the name again of the device and the things that are configured within it. So 3 agents. The offsite sync speed is 100 megabytes, and this is really interesting as well. To avoid any interruptions and just consuming the whole bandwidth in your company, you can decide how much bandwidth you're going to be using into the external sites. And for this customer, we decided 100 megabytes was more than enough. Okay, but if you don't set it, it's just gonna use more bandwidth as needed. Okay, in here you have the agent information, right? And again, you can see all the configuration for it in there. I'm gonna go there after I do one of the demos. So let's just play around with the data. One of the things that you want to do is to understand it. To protect something, you need an agent, either an agent or an agentless hypervisor, which is really VMware right now. Hyper-V does require a backup agent, and this particular environment is running in a Hyper-V. Okay, so if you come here, you go through Wizard, and it allows you to do that installation. You even have the ability to set up a hypervisor in here. So for example, if I do, let's say agentless version, I can set up a hypervisor here and say, I can either read the virtual machines if it's a if it's a VMware, and if it's a Hyper-V, it allows you to do offloading of the testing and running of virtual machines into your existing Hyper-V solution to extend your existing compute power. That may be a limitation on this device, which, if you saw the amount of RAM on CPU, it's usually not a problem. I can turn this device into a file share. I can do just a share and just use it as an NAS if you want, or I can back up a external share with this, or I can do iSCSI shares, so you can boot things from a device or hypervisor. Okay, I can do and this is, to me, this is where the fun part begins. I can do restores on any snapshot that was taken at any moment. So for example, I'm just going to do a test one. I have a domain controller here. And this domain controller has been backed up for a long time now. And I have an option to do all of these types of recovery. So for example, if I just want to recover a file, I just do a quick file restore, but I can even do virtualize recover. So let's say my Hyper-V dies in, I don't know, today at 11 in the morning. So what, instead of, I can try to restore that, or I can say, hey, I don't have to do that. I'll just run this straight into my device, and the system is just going to be available to our users. And I can do jump back into the virtualization system after the incident is resolved. Okay, so I don't have to keep running it here. I can even virtualize it in the cloud as well. So I can do both systems. Usually, when you do it on the cloud, is for either testing on disaster recovery, or you're actually doing disaster recovery. Okay, so I'm gonna just test this restore, and you're gonna see how many restore points I have. See. So for example, I have today 11 a.m., 10 a.m., 9 a.m., 7 a.m., and I have yesterday at 7 p.m. And this is my policy. We decided we wanted this way. So let's assume I want to restore from yesterday at 7 p.m. for some reason. Okay, so I'm just going to do restore. The user said they had the document working at that time, so we're just heading at that point right now. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna mount this, and what's happened is that it gives me a UNC path, so I can map it into a map drive into Windows. I can access it directly from Explorer window, or I can even do something like this, which is very similar to what Nestor did in the previous example, right? You have the hard drives here, and let's say I want to go into the D file, and I see this information here, the folders. I'm gonna come back, C file, okay, C drive, and again, I have a bunch of folders here. And let's say, for example, I want to enter here in Tools IT. And let's say I want to download this file. Well, I'll just click here and just downloads in my computer. That's it. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. That's one of the ways you do it. After you do it, you're going to see that the platform is going to show you that a restore was created. Okay, which you see it here. This is an active recovery, and I can keep it there. I can remove it. You know, if you are using it, usually you should remove it afterwards. That's just one way to do it. I'm going to do it again, but with a different mindset. Instead of doing a recovery for a file, let's just spin up a whole virtual machine. So let's say, again, I'm going to do yesterday, 7 p.m., and I'm going to restore that. I want you to see and to note how fast this actually goes. If I'm doing a restore, I'm going to see how many CPU cores, how much RAM am I going to be using, what's my networking options. Since this is a test, I'm going to be doing disconnected. But if you wanted to connect it to your network, you just select your network card here. It's just going to be right there in the network with the rest of the servers. Okay, so I'm just going to do disconnected. I'm going to apply, and I'm going to spin it up without creating a rescue agent. That means that your server is going to be backed up while it is running into the virtual system and on the data system. So I'm going to click start, and that's it. It automatically start booting this machine right here. So I'm gonna show you how it looks like after it spins. But if you see, It's right here. It's already booting. See? So if I do, for example, open in browser, you're gonna see how it starts booting right now, and it just takes a minute, maybe depending on how much resources you use and how much is load of that VM, maybe take 4 or 5 minutes. It's really fast. Now I'm gonna show you real fast the. I'm actually gonna come here and restore. Actually, no. Can I come here into protect and see the agents? Because I want to show you in the last minutes I have. I want to show you real quick some of the options you have to protect this system. And this is basically it. So you have options to control how many snapshots you have on premises, how many snapshots you're going to have on the cloud, and you can define the retention policy for each. So if you see here, there's all the recovery points we've set up, and that's why you see that I have from 8 in the morning through 7 p.m. because per policy, I have this set up. If you need to back up every 5 minutes, go ahead. It's going to take more storage, of course, so you can retain less information, but that may be useful for a lot of places. We've done disaster recovery for places where having lost 2 hours of data is just way too much, okay? So this is really addressing that problem. The same goes in here for retention, how much how am I gonna keep that information within both the on-premises and the cloud. I'm gonna keep them for 7 days. Maybe after that, keeps the daily backups for a week, the weekly backups for a month. But you can even say, hey, I'm gonna keep them forever. So that's really up to you. Okay. Um, and I'm gonna just jump around here because there's one additional point that I wanted to address before ending this part of the presentation, which is the verification part. To me, that this is one of the most important areas, and this is basically it. Every time you do one of those backups, one of those snapshots, every block that you write into the disk, it has a checksum, and it gets verified before it's written. If it's not valid, it's not going to be used as a valid recovery point, and it's not going to be transferred to the cloud either. Okay, and it also has the ability to verify whether or not the machine is running because of the snapshots I showed you. And even better, it does have ransomware protection. And a lot of people believe it is something like having an EDR or an AV software. It's not the case. You usually have your own software to protect against ransomware, but what we do here, it's different. We do here something that's called entropy and change verification. Okay, so that means that a sudden change in the amount of data that has been modified in a certain amount of time will be a red flag. If you have a lot of .crypt files, a lot of .locked files, it will be a signal that says, hey, your computer is most likely compromised. So just roll back. Okay, so that's one of the things that you most likely want to do. And of course, you do application verification, service verification. You can run your own scripts and all that good stuff. Okay. Now, in here, I haven't, it hasn't finished yet on applying the computer settings, but you can see here that I have the mouse working, so I can just do Control-Delete and log into the server. Okay, so this was the last part of the technical aspect, and I do want to show you the last part, which is a report. And I'm just gonna show you a real
I'm
quick
sorry,
example.
Juan, before you leave to the report, I want to make a small interruption talking about the important point about the rescued agent auction. Do you remember the auction when Juan started doing the virtualization restore? Say, hey, please unlist this check mark to if you want to use the rescue agent option. This is too important because imagine you lose your old server on your data center and you don't have anything server on premise. You have the option to virtualize your your environment inside the Datto box, and then when you finish your repair all your server, you can restore back. And every time you have this environment turning on inside the Datto box, you continue back in this environment. This is important feature because if you losing your environment, for example, a ransomware, you continue to expose the hacker hacking your virtual environment or your rescue environment. This is an important feature because it's more easy restore back when you finish repair your environment. Only want to mention that before you leave and continue the presentation report. I put this this small comment in the chat to let you do you read back because I'm sorry for my English and continue, Juan. I appreciate the time.
Sure. Yeah, that if just so to remind you guys, is that was when I just restored the server, the button that was right in the middle before um, just right above the start button, right there. You had this option to do the recovery agent, and well, it's right here. The computer's right here, and I know I went over my time. So sorry. I'm sorry. So I just wanted to show you the last part is report. And this is very important because a lot of times you do have to make your own documentation manually, and this completely gets rid of that. You have the option to just one click and it creates it for you, including the name of the system, how much space it's using, what's the model, when was the last checking. You have the recent screenshots for that machine, and you have how much data you're using. Over here, what's the storage utilization and what's your current configuration. That helps you comply with regulations. That helps you have the information at hand whenever needed. Okay, and that's it. That's it. I don't want to take more time away from you, Nestor. So I'll give you the word.
No, thank you. Thank you. Very interesting. Definitely a lot of features to look at. If you have questions, I know there maybe a couple of you that have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll start to take care of them as we sort of wrap up here, because I know we are a little bit over time and want to respect your time that you've decided to share with us. So if you can stay a couple of extra minutes, we'll stay on for Q&A. But for those that do have to go, feel free to start dropping the questions in the chat, and both Deo and Juan can start answering asynchronously. All right, so we've seen 3 tools that can help you guys strengthen your BCDR strategy and that you can put into your BCDR practice. However, it can be a lot. How to identify what the disasters are that are more likely to affect my business? How could I identify the tools that I actually need? Deploy, manage, make sure the reporting is set up, that everything is set up in a way that meets my requirements, my specific compliance requirements even. It can be a lot to juggle. So that's where Inova is here to help. Inova and 2Connect are here to help you guys be able to deploy and manage these solutions. Now, the first solution we looked at, our SaaS protection solution, many of you may already have heard of. That's because we offer that as a standalone solution. So you may have heard of our Guardian 360 backup and protect solution. We offer that in both customer managed and Inova managed flavors. The customer managed flavor, we help you deploy it, and after that, it's in your hands. We have 0 access to it. So in fact, if you want support, we need you to grant us access in order to provide that support. But you'll have that unlimited data retention, those 3 backups a day, encrypted at rest and in transit, immutable backups of your Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams environment. And you can get that for $3 per user per month. If on top of that, you would want our team to continuously monitor those backups, ensure that any error is resolved proactively, perform quarterly restore tests scheduled with your team, and provide weekly reporting alongside with support and troubleshooting, then you can look at the Inova managed version of our service for only $2 per user per month extra, so $5 per user per month. We can assist you with that. What about endpoint backup and BCDR? Well, those tend to be solutions that are part of a larger, more complex BCDR strategy. And so something we wanted to take a brief moment to mention today is our Inova Shield solution. This is our brand new premier managed services offering, and it is your all-in-one, essentially one-stop shop where we can help you with your IT issues. In fact, we are briefly launching a new campaign, which you'll be able to enjoy. We are here to help you manage your IT baggage. So if you think of the travel experience, we are going to be your premium option. We'll make sure you get into the nice lounges, everything is set up correctly, and you're running smoothly. So you'll be able to get anything from device management, patch management, help desk support, assistance with backup, and monitoring backup solutions like this, assistance with AV and EDR and monitoring those as well, incident resolution, proactive advice, and actually helping you guys plan out an IT roadmap through our VCIO program. All of that included in a single per user per month price. Pricing varies depending on region. So if you're interested, please feel free to sign up for one of our one-on-one sessions, and we can absolutely take a look at your specific need. Now, before we let you go, just a couple of final things we want to take care of, and we'll jump right into the Q&A. Really, the primary one is this: your feedback is important to us. So please feel free to take the survey. We are, in order to motivate you to fill out that survey, giving away a free $100 Amazon gift card. Winners will be announced via email. So please scan the QR code, click on the link I've just posted in the chat. Feel free to fill out that survey. It is important to us that you fill it out honestly and sincerely. We look at our feedback or your feedback and customize future events based on it. So if it was too fast, if it was too much, it should have been divided into 2 sessions. If you liked it, you like these action-packed, faster-paced sessions, either way, let us know, and we'll definitely use it to tailor future sessions. Now, I think they might still be a couple of questions pending here. So I'm not sure, Juan, if in these few final moments while the attendees fill out that survey, we want to take a few of Harun's questions.
Sure, definitely. So I was just taking a look at them, and I see that there was just taking a few of them, but I can just move around real fast and give my take on it. So, for example, one of the first questions is very interesting, right? What happens if you have a ransomware attack and you have to restore 150 gigabytes of data on an environment? How much time it's going to take to restore? It really depends. For example, if you want to do what I mentioned on the last part, which is just do the restore as a virtual machine, you can probably do it in under 6-7 minutes. It's pretty fast. But you may do other things as well. For example, you may restore into a hypervisor. You may restore as a SCSI drive and use that iSCSI drive to put the information from any hypervisor. You can download the VHD file or VMDK file because it really does the conversion automatically, or depending on the option you select, and the time will be dependent on how fast your connection to the server is and how fast the actual server it's going to work. It's going to be working at. So it's probably around 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Really depends on how fast that server is, and that's given the fact that it would be 150 gigs. And yeah, Teo is just giving out more data right there in the chat.
I can see there he handled the second one. Yeah. Maybe we can tackle the third one, the corruption of the actual hypervisor.
Yeah, can it be restored
that's
into
the one
cloud?
Theo's already answered.
Yeah,
well.
he's already answered. Yeah,
that was too fast for us, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I said let's just leverage him. So I didn't have the time. I'm so sorry to show you the cloud restore version, but it works exactly the same as the on-premises restore. It basically spins up a virtual machine on the cloud, again included in the price, and you can just connect it to the to your network and just use it from there. That works mostly as a disaster recovery solution. You can use it, fix your problem, and then go back. Okay. What's the price comparison between the backup and Azure backup? That's a very good question. I'll let Dale answer that one because I'm not a commercial guy.
Sorry, what is the question about the
No,
backup?
you can. Well, you can open up your mic and do it, or you can do it on the chat as you were doing it. But I was like, I was just reading through the questions, and one of them is, what's the price comparison between Datto backup and Azure backup? And I don't have the numbers on the top of my head. So
we have a slide. If you give me a second, I show you the difference in a screenshot from the slide. But it's a little bit, if you see the first time, it's a little bit more expensive. But if you include, you will have a dual redundancy data center, include support feature, because you have something disaster on Azure. If you want to advanced support, it's important. This don't include on Azure. You have a basic support, but the advanced support with the cloud is including that BCDR. Yes, it's important different because let me talking about the different example. If you recover a virtual machine and this when you finish the recovery, this OS that don't come boot, you can access an expert help to fix this problem on Windows directly from the Datto support enterprise high-level support. This is different. This is one important feature in the pricing. But I put for the timing, I put a screenshot for the different because I already have that question on a document.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it'll depend and vary. The value prop will vary a little bit scenario to scenario. Of course, one of the big or the nice things of working with Inova and 2Connect is you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting infrastructure experts, you're getting Microsoft experts. So we'll be able to compare your specific scenario and see really what the best solution for your specific needs is. Sometimes there's a lot of buy-in into Azure, and there's advantages in having that same tool, like we saw that there was the same look and feel across Datto tools. There can be advantages of having the same sort of single pane of glass for everything in your organization. So Azure may make more sense. Whereas in other scenarios, the Datto appliance may make more sense. So we can look at it in each of your specific cases.
I put the screenshot about the comparison, the pricing on the chat.
Perfect. Yeah, it'll depend on whether you need that extra support, whether you feel already you can handle it with your internal resources, whether you're just going to be looking at backup or also replication with ASR, Azure Site Recovery. All these factors can come in play. So it's a nice question to answer in a one-on-one session where we can look specifically at your scenario. We can look at that more closely.
I see another question. If you give access to IPMN feature, yes, we have IPMN feature because the server is development for Dell, and we have the own version of IPM feature based on iDRAC. But yes, it's included on the appliance. All appliance already have. It's important the appliance series has this feature. The Alto is a development for another box. It don't have APMN features different. It
don't have that level of functionality.
Right.
True. Yes. Yeah, Cyrus is sort of the mid-level version, whereas Alto is more entry level and thus may have a bit less functionality.
And the last question is, I think it's one of the most important. Datto don't have a vulnerability feature to scan your server, but it's included a free version for ransomware protection or ransomware detection. Every time the system make a finish to doing a snapshot of a backup, he running a ransomware detection test, but the most important feature is running inside the data box. Don't take CPU or RAM for your environment. When he finished and inside the data on the data box, he's texting the ransomware feature or in the mean to transfer the data. And if he sees some alert about something suspicious ransomware, the data send you an email and you can customize the notification. It also includes texting for different service provider. I don't know all the provider for your size include, but we know half all the US cell phone providers is included. But yes, we have something tree prevention inside, including the license for that. It's no separate features, include all at the same prices.
Very cool. Very cool. And Cyrus does support Linux, correct, Dale?
Yes. Yes, correct. And this year we include the Mac support feature. Plus, we support a backing share folder or SMB compatible feature and backing and time machine for Mac OS.
There we go. Awesome. Awesome. All right. No problem, Harun. In fact, if you have more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We are going to start closing. However, again, feel free to drop the questions in the chat. If there are any that we leave, we can definitely answer them in the follow-up email. The slides are going to be shared with you, and then the replies to the additional questions can be shared there as well. Once again, we thank you very, very much for having some time for spending your time with us here today. We hope the information was useful to you. If you are interested in seeing more detailed demos, if you are interested in having particular questions answered, if there's one of the solutions you want to take a closer look at, you want to talk about the MSP service, feel free to reach out to us. Our information is right there on screen being shared now. If you already have an Inova account manager, reach out to your account manager. They will put you in touch with us, and we'll definitely get together for a more close-up conversation. Again, thank you very, very much, and have a wonderful rest of your days. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.
Good day.